Coming to the stage, very funny man. Big hand for Rajiv Boodram.
All right, I got 5 minutes up here. That's a lot longer than people usually pay attention to me for. And I get it. I'm not an easy person to understand. Like this girl that I dated in college used to complain that I start off my sentences in misleading ways. We're still together, by the way. And yeah, to this day, I still confuse her. And that's because talking to me is not the easiest thing to do. It's a lot like using Google Maps. So you know how you'd be like driving, like staying en route on like the blue route, and then suddenly it's like suggesting this other route in like a light gray color that's 15 minutes slower with higher tolls. Yeah, it's like this. It's distracting. Why even bring that up, right? Yeah. So imagine that times 10, and I'm the one like forcing you to take all those routes. That's kind of how the conversation goes. Like the other day, conversation with my girlfriend and I, we started off talking about what we wanted for dinner, and then I took us on a 15-minute detour as to why drinking room temperature water is better than drinking like cold temperature water. Where are my room temperature water drinkers? Wow, oh my God, that's a lot more people than I thought there'd be. Thank you, I needed that validation. Anyways, yeah, so definitely gotta work on my conversation skills. Another thing I need to work on is my choice of friends. So I used to live in Florida, unfortunately, and while in Florida, I had this friend named Tanner. Now Tanner did this like perfect impression of a racist person, and he did it all the time. Like especially when he was like talking to me or other minorities. Like conversation would be like, "Hey Tanner, you want to hang out after work?" It's like, "Go back to your country." It's like a classic Tanner. Anyways, I eventually stopped hanging out with him because I attended one of these like Q&A meetings he'd have at his house. I think it was like QA non for short. Yeah, I mean I had to leave the Q&A early because I didn't really like the answers they were coming up with. Anyways, moving on. So I'm a first-generation American citizen. Thank you. I definitely chose that. My parents are from the Caribbean islands of Trinidad and Tobago. And yeah, this is great. Yeah, representation. Yes. And I guess like a lot of other first-generation-ers, I feel like I live two lives. Like I have like my at-home family life, and then I have like the outside world life. And I've always like struggled trying to like bridge that gap between those two. So recently, what I've been trying to do is learn like classic, traditional Trinidadian dishes. But for some reason, whenever I do them, they don't come out correctly. Like I keep ending up with these like weird, awkward American versions of like what they should be, which is probably what like immigrant parents think when they see their kids growing up. Thank you. Like my parents knew I was a lost cause ever since I started saying like the Pledge of Allegiance during our prayer time. Like I think the first time I did it, they just kind of looked over at me and were like, "Oh dear God, what have we created?" Take a step away. But yeah, I mean, like that was like one of my first. The reason I did that was because it was like one of my first attempts to try to like bridge that gap. But yeah, living two lives, it's your mind works in overdrive, as it does. And I've come up with a very simple way to explain, what that looks like. So that saying that within you there are two wolves that are constantly fighting amongst each other for control? Yeah? Yeah, so for me, definitely there are two wolves. But I feel like within my two wolves, there are two more wolves. And then within those two wolves are two more wolves. it's basically what I'm trying to say is that there's a pack of wolves, a pack of infinite, culturally confused wolves, just fighting amongst each other within me at any given day, any given time. Now, some people say I should get that checked out, but I like to tell those people that I got that dog in me. Thank you all. My name's Rajiv, and give it for Brad. Give it for everybody else.
Big hand for Rajiv!